Hi everybody, my name is Jan Dufour and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you just from outside of Louisville, Kentucky. Let's get some little business taken care of. This should be airing at the beginning of March. If you have any questions, you can email me at jandufour@yahoo.com. That includes asking for a free catalog. If you're visiting me on YouTube, you can request the catalog with a contact me form over at my blog. It's stampmesilly.com. That's also where all the project sheets are and the things that you're looking for. And then if you want to purchase anything, you can go directly to my online store at jandufour.stampinup.net. And I do want to tell you that Stampin' Up! Just dropped a whole bunch of online exclusives, which we don't know necessarily if it's going to be there for a really long time. Some of them have been there for a really long time, or if it's just something that they have more of and they want to allow it to be on sale. They're bringing it back from an older catalog. There's all kinds of things. Sometimes it's a test place to see if people like what they see there. So lots of different options, but they just dropped about 4 pages of new stuff. So it's really exciting. One of those online exclusives is this pack. These are the cards we're making. These packs of Memories and More. Now I have gone over Memory and More card making before in the past. You can go to my website and Google Memories and More. Sometimes they always come with, they always have available little Memory and More cards that have sentiments on it, pictures, all kinds of things. I did a Christmas video with the berry, I don't remember what it was called. It had polar bears on it. But anyway, and that can make quick cards because you can just literally slap it on the front. The only thing is that when you're looking at them in the catalog, you don't see all of the Memory and More cards, so you're not sure what they say. But generally on the opposite side, there's some pretty backgrounds, so you can get away with doing something with that. And in every single catalog, there is always a group of 20 cards and 20 envelopes. And as you can see, the envelopes are really cool. So they're pre-made backgrounds for you. They are bigger cards. They're 6, I think they're 6 1/8 by 4 1/8, but essentially 4 by 6 cards. So you get a larger space to decorate, which is also nice. They're very economical. You get 20 decorated envelopes and 20 cards for $10. And then if you just are using scraps and things on them, or things you already have, it makes them very inexpensive. There have been, they usually come in an envelope set like this. This is not a Memories and More, but it's just to give you an idea. So look, make sure you look in our catalogs and see what's available every time. Sometimes you may just want the Memory and More cards and envelopes, but there are times when I purchased the Memory and More cards. They come in 3 by 4 and 5.5 by 3.5, I think, which fit perfectly on here. So we're going to go ahead and make these 2 cards, and then I will show you others that I have, made. I can't find a place to put these away. What I wanted to do was to use a set. Let me find a set that you may already have. This is called Darling Details. And that's available, put this away where it belongs. But it has flowers, etc. But it also has these cute frames, which is, I'm using the larger frame from here, and the cutouts for the 2 flowers and the stamp, or the leaves. So we're going to use Darling Details, which I've used before. I've used some of the sentiments on them. They're cute, they're small, they fit in really cool places. And then the other one is a new set that just dropped on the online exclusives. So you would go to my website, go shop products, and then online exclusives, and you'll see pages and pages and pages of new stamps. But these have got essentially 5 sayings, and I used all 5 of them making some cards. Now the two I'm going to show you, obviously it's only got two, but I do want to show you a couple of other ideas. So let's start with this one. Again, we started with the card base. It's already pre-scored, so you just need to do that, and then go ahead and there's no, in this case, there's no front and back. It doesn't matter. The inside is white. And then I'm going to show you two things when you're making the Darling details. There are a lot of small pieces. They're dots. They get everywhere. What I did, because I was comfortable doing it, so you'll have to decide for yourself whether you want to do it that way. But I cut out the Calypso Coral to 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, which makes it just about the right size. It's like a hair off on a couple of places. I taped this down and then I sent it through the die cut machine and it comes out like this. If you're not comfortable with it being that close in size, you can also, just use a scrap like a quarter of a card. Go ahead and cut this out. You can either, you can't use the whole frame on here, but you could cut it down some. What I did was, to get it the right size, make sure you can see this. I essentially put it so that I could see the score marks inside. I don't know if I can get you to see that or not, but these little dash lines are right in the groove. And then what I did was I moved it, I lifted the arm a little bit, and I moved it till I couldn't quite see it anymore. And then I cut. And so what that does, this I can show you better. Let me see if I can focus. It gives you barely a little bit of a border, and you can cut off the 3 sides and you essentially get the same thing. So that's 2 different ways that you can do that. All right, so then I needed to stamp a thank you, and I wanted it's the same size. It goes right in there. The only thing I did do was, as I'm cutting, okay, so I said it was 3, let me get this, 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So I went to 4 3/4 right there on this mark, 4 3/4. And then I pulled it back, not even to the next, which is a 32nd, or no, it's actually a 16th. I put it in between the two, just to shave a hair off. I wanted it just slightly smaller, and I did the same thing going in the other direction. All right, so now I need to stamp this. Let me set this aside. We need that. I don't need that. Where are my stamps? Oh yeah, here we go. So I'm going to show you a couple of tricks today. Again, using my Stamparatus, I will tell you, I have purchased another brand of stamp positioner. Well, first of all, let me reiterate. There is, if you go to my blog and search for stamp positioner, I show you how to make both of these. And you can use both of them. They work in a little bit different, a couple similar ways, but a couple of different ways. This, if you buy the whole set, there's 4, I think it's $10. So it does have a $10 fee, and then it's a couple of pieces, heavy cardstock, and a slice of magnet sheet, just so that you can use your magnet if you want to use it for positioning. That's the cheapest way to do it. But if you have a stamp, I'm sorry, I got the hiccups. If you do have a Stamparatus, then you can certainly use that and stamp. I'm going to turn this around, but this is not what I'm doing. I'm doing thank you. Haha. So obviously I'll be bringing that back to show you. But it's a great way to do multiples, which of course, that's one of the things I do best, if you will. I always make more than one. First of all, there's my test one, and whether it comes out exactly the way I want it or not, it's still a good card. And then I make a couple so that I can go through the steps, get the measurements, get the, the order of things that you have to do. So that's a couple more cards. And then I demonstrate one. So I usually end up with at least 4 cards. And as you can see here, I have the piece of cardstock up in the corner, and I positioned this ahead of time. I put it where I wanted. I usually stamp and make sure that it's straight. And then I go ahead and I ink it up. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this, and then I'm going to tell you something. Let's see how it stamps the first time. It's actually good enough. I'm going to restamp it just because I like a little bit darker, but you will never get the O, the A, or side of T completely inked, because that's the style of the stamp. And you can tell by looking. This is slightly hedged, this is light, and this one is slightly hedged. So, but I am going to put another layer on it. I often do 2 anyway, even when it's not this type of style, just because I like it dark and crisp. So as you can see, it is darker. The O is still lighter, the edge of the T and the A is still lighter, but that's the way it's supposed to be. So that's good. So we'll put that aside. And actually, while I have it out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my other one. Now, on the project sheet, you'll see that the strip is 1 inch wide. So I'll just put that here, switch over, and the Just Because is the same. The whole stamp set is kind of like that. And I'll show you the front page again. Oops, obviously. Oh, I know what I did with this one. Okay. Is this where I show you the trick? I didn't think so. No, that's not where I show you the trick. Okay. Well, I obviously put that somewhere. Let me see what happens if I put it here. What happens if I put it here? I'm using a grid that's on, I'm using a grid that's already on my paper to get it to line up. I guess I freeformed this one. I do stamp though and make sure that it's straight under here. And as you can see, the U is lighter because it is. The B is lighter. It's just the way it is. This is a dark enough color. I don't need to stamp it twice. So I'm going to put that away for now because we're done with this particular piece. And then while we're stamping, we might as well go ahead and do our Darling Details stamped piece, which for some reason I don't have a sheet of paper. Hang on, I'm sorry. I must have used it up while I was playing. All right, so essentially I'm putting in a 1/4 piece of paper. Now you'll notice it doesn't quite fit. And that's because I wanted to show you a trick, another trick. I always love, I'm the tricky person. It's great if you have corners like this to get things away from the edge. And sometimes you do need to get things away from the edge because the stamp, if you put too close to the hinge, might not stamp as well. This is not the size that I used. This is ones that are made. They're, shiny and pretty. It has the size on them. They're etched in there. And they're nice to have. I do use them a lot. You can use them for lining up words if you're using individual letters, etc. But I wanted to show you another way. If you have 2 of anything, 2 rulers, 2 things, you could actually even make just this a couple of times, or make it, this is too thick because this is used as a stamp positioner. But if you made a thinner version of this, this would also work. So you can make that just out of cardstock. But what I did was I took 2 things that were, and they don't even have to be the same size, but I used that to position, and then I stuck a little magnet on it so it wouldn't go anywhere. And then I went ahead and stamped my flowers. Now I'm using Calypso Coral, and I'm going to use it on both sections. Now this is a distinctive stamp. Where is it? These are my favorite. You know what? It doesn't even call this one a distinctive, but it is. It should have been called a distinctive. I guess there must be a certain number of, they're calling it a two-step stamp is why they didn't want it to be multiple things. But if you look real close, it's not a solid stamp. So that's why I think it's considered distinctive. What I'm trying to get at is it makes it very lifelike, I guess is the best word to use. Oops, now that corner didn't stamp well enough, so I'm going to hold this on, put this back where I wanted it, up in the corner. And this is what happens, and one of the reasons why, actually I'm just going to repush it because the ink didn't come off the stamp there. Probably because these are a little too high. There you go, perfect. Doesn't do a shadow or anything like that. And actually, I'm going to turn it around because this will make two of these, which is kind of why I positioned them this way. So we'll redo this. Push them down. Make sure I get it pushed on the side that didn't go last time. And this time it didn't do it right here a little bit. And that's because these are too high. I mean, they're concave, I guess. But it's just an idea of something that you can do to make it work. All right, so now, oh, I have to use them again, unfortunately. Now I have to continue the trick. And the reason for that is I'm going to switch this around and using the same color. So I'm not even having to use a darker color. I don't have to get fancy. I don't have to have every stamp pad in the book. But now I'm going to color or stamp in 2 steps. This is the second step. And put the detail on it, if you will. Make sure I get all of that. And see how it puts the detail, and it's darker because of the way the stamp is made. And then I'm just going to turn it around. We'll get all our stamping done. And then we can get to having more fun with actually working with it. All right. And there's the second layer. So this one's called the 2-step stamp. It is kind of distinctive because of the variation in the stippling that creates multiple colory looks. It looks like I've colored it, but I have not. All right, so we'll put that aside. Turn that off. Get rid of this. Oh, I'm getting these out of the way because I don't need them. Like I said, I am going to test another stamp positioner. I had one a long time ago, but they've updated it and probably got rid of a few things that I didn't like. So that's kind of why I'm anxious to get it and try it out so I can either recommend it or not talk about it at all, because I won't trash another company because there are people who like different things. So I'm taking this back out and I'm going to show you why. All right, so this has got bunches of holes, right? And first thing, when you send it through, and of course I've already done this for you, but when I sent it through, I was having a hard time, and of course you use platform 1, 2, 3, the paper, the paper that you're cutting with a die cut, and then another 3. I was having to poke a lot of these holes out. In other words, they weren't coming out easily, and it was annoying me, of course. I'm not very patient. So what I did was I cut out a piece of 6x9, which is essentially the size of this, and used it as a shim. So all I've done, a shim is just something that makes it a little bit thicker, not a lot. You do not want to fight trying to roll that thing through, or even if you have an electronic one, you don't want it to be grinding and making a lot of noise. But by adding just that thin piece of paper, it's not thin, it's cardstock, but just by adding that was enough to get it to cut through, and there were very few of the holes that I had to poke out. It just worked so much better. The reason I have this here, I will show you. So because there's so many holes and you don't really want a bunch of glue coming out, although inevitably you may have some, I'm just gonna put, maybe, I must leave my glue out without, okay. So we're gonna do the pin trick again, which works awesomely. Clean that off later. All right, so I'm gonna start with putting a little tiny dot in the corner. Then I'm gonna put a little dot, or as little as I can make it, in between, along the edge, in between the flowers. Now I'll put 3 in the corner. And I'm just trying to get enough glue on there so that it will stick to the white cardstock that I'm going to put behind it that has the stamp on it. So again, I'm just making little dots. That one was a little bit bigger than I could have had, because it doesn't take much for it to work. And then finally down here, there we go. I'll put a little bit more in the corner. The corners are a little bit more important and you have a little bit more room. Let's put the cover on and see if that helps. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this up in the corner, and then I'm gonna take this and kind of shove that up in the corner. It's just an easier way to get it to line up, instead of trying to fight with it and push it and squeeze it and turn it. And then I use my trusty, I call it, it's the only thing I use the big stamp pad for, or stamp cube for, is to sit on it so it will dry straight. And then what we have is we're gonna go ahead and cut out the flower and another small half flower. I tried it with the leaves, and I wanted to keep it monochromatic, and I didn't want the Calypso coral leaves because I just didn't think that made sense. So anyway, I went ahead and, as you saw, stamped here, and then I just took my, whoops. And it's kind of fun because when you put this down, it's like, oh my gosh, that does not fit. Just keep twirling it around. The other thing you can do, which I haven't done yet because I've been playing with this set, is once I figure out where it should be, is to put a magic marker dot on the top of both this and on the back side of the stamp, so I can kind of know, but it doesn't bother me. So I would go ahead and put this one on, I would put this one on, and run it through, so I would get 2 of them at the same time. And I'm going to put this aside. All right, so this is dry enough. It just takes a moment. And I'm going to position these. I will show you another one I did without having the flowers here. This is fine. This would look lovely if I made it just like that. And that would be a real quick card to get off to somebody that you wanted to say a thank you to. But I wanted it to be a little bit more decorated, if you will. And it's not really stepping it up because I'm still only using paper. And I was already using the die, so that's not much different. But this paper is especially nice because I can line it up on on the edges. Now I'm using a little bit more. I want to go up, so I'm halfway and halfway at the top. Okay, and then side to side we're good. All right, now I could put the big thing back down on here, but I'm not gonna. And then I knew that I wanted, you know, to come off the edge. It kind of breaks up the edge of it. So you just have to figure out, this is going to go underneath. I did not use dimensionals for this. I actually wanted a little bit more over here. Yeah. So I went ahead and took this off, and I put glue on the back of this one because I kind of knew where, and it is going in the back. I think maybe I need a new glue again. I've been using a lot of glue. Ever since Christmas, man, I've been... And it goes a long way. I mean, I made hundreds of gifts that I bring to all kinds. I bring it to my doctors. I bring them everywhere. So there we go. And when you get too much ink on it, because it was obviously stuck, just take a separate piece of paper and kind of wipe it off. See, here's the plug. All right, so I was in this vicinity, put that there, And then I'm going to put some over here. And I'm not so much going around to the edges because I know that it's going to be elevated up there. Push this up. One of the reasons I like using the glue is I have time to play with positioning. There we go. All right. So there is card number 1. And we're going to do the same thing for card number 2. I'll set these aside. Card number 2, we need to get, I wanted to show it with you with the envelope. Look how pretty that is. Don't you just love to get that in the mail? Anyway, so there you have it. That's very pretty. So now I need a card again. They're nice and sturdy. I'll fold it. And then we're gonna go ahead and burnish. I do burnish both sides when I want it to sit flatter, and when I'm showing you, I want it to sit flatter. Once it's in my project box, they get flatter. So here's the 1 inch, right? And then here's the 1.5 inch. And in this one, I put a little gem, which, you know, you don't have to do, but you just have to decide where on this piece do you want it right up to the left so you have more room for leaves. I wanted it off just a little bit. So I put glue, and I'm using my new glass mat from Stampin' Up, which if you are looking at this in March, which it's already, Celebration Join promotion's already done. They may eventually put these on sale. I don't know. So I'm it's not on the edge, but I want to have, let's see how far over that goes. Yeah, I think I want it a little bit closer this way. All right. And then we're going to make sure it's centered. Bring it down just a hair. Press it. And then if you get any glass, well, I did pretty good. If you get any ink or glue or anything on there, you can obviously just cut it off or wipe it off. I'm going to cut this off from the back so I can see the right size. Do that. And then I need to make it the right size for here. So one of them I put it like sort of in the middle. I kind of like it down further. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue. Again, I'm not even measuring these. These are scraps. I measured it after I used it. It was like, oh, it's 1.5 inches. That's what I need to tell my peeps. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this down here. I want it all the way over to the edge. Make sure it's straight. Again, I'm using the pattern in the paper to make sure that it is straight. And then just press it on down. Turn it over. Now see, I had a little bit of extra glue on there, which is how I got glue on my scissors. But we can cut that off later. Not a problem. I'm throwing that away because I don't need it. All right, and there is a little bit of glue, so I will pick that up in a little bit. And then we needed to get some, did I not stamp these? Apparently I didn't. Huh. Well, that wasn't too bright. Okay, well, we're gonna freeform this bad boy. Let's see what happens. For those of you who are just sure you don't ever want to have a stamp positioner, this may change your mind because I don't know how successful I'm going to be, but we're going to go for it. All right. So I was using Calypso Coral. This is pretty peacock. And I do like the combination. So I'm doing the outline first. You know, some people like to do the inside first and then the outside. I'm feeling real comfortable just doing this. So stamping this was easy. It's just a simple line stamp. The trickier part, not the tricky part, but the more challenging piece is we need to try to get this in here. Now, it doesn't actually fit perfectly, if you can see this one. And that's intentional for two-step stamping. Holy cow, that's hard to say. Okay, so because it's photopolymer, I can look down. I can kind of line up my 3 end points, which is what I was going for. We'll see what happens when I take it off. Well, I did pretty good. Alrighty. And then you would just cut that out with your die cutter. And I'm going to have to do that because I don't have one to show you. So this one doesn't actually need the shim because there's not a lot of, but I'm going to keep this with my stamp cut and emboss machine because I do need shims occasionally. And the funny thing is that, you know, other people will say, well, I've never had to use a shim. It's always really tight. And, you know, 1/32 of an inch difference when they make these plates is enough to throw off a machine. Now I'm going back over to my machine, which I keep on one of those IKEA carts. So you can't see me do this. But I assure you, this is the sandwich, and that's the important part. Rolling it through is not so important. Let's see how I did. We'll put this back, and we'll pull this off, because I do need this one to put on the card. This is just Post-it tape. You can use anything that's not too sticky. And if it's too sticky to start, put it on your body, on your shirt, or on your shorts or your pants, whatever, and that will make it not quite so sticky. All right, so then I put this kind of in this position. Again, I did not pop it up with a dimensional. Most of these go through the mail, and while one level of dimensional is fine to go through the mail, I just usually try to, I mean, I have layers on here, so I just kind of try to not do that too much. Now, there was all kinds of gems. The idea is to try to use up scraps, try to use up stuff you already have, and then you just have the $10 cost for the envelopes. But so this one is opaque faceted gems, but that was a celebration thing. So if you didn't already get that, you won't have it unless it shows up on the online store someday. And then this is in the annual catalog. It's Masterfully Made sequins. Sequins are great for sending off in the mail because they're relatively flat. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use one of these, and then I'll show you. There you have it. All right. And then I'll show you what I did also on this card. This is just a basic rhinestone. They're clear. I'll show you what they look like after I put my tools away. Let's see. Well, maybe I lied to you. I didn't mean to. Man, I thought I was better organized than this. Apparently not. Let me look real quick, see if I can find my... You can do it to the pearls. You can do it to anything that's fairly iridescently clear. Well, I have apparently eaten my gems for lunch, so they must be on my table somewhere. But essentially, without bogging down the length of time of this, yeah, I don't know where they are. Okay. Okay, so don't call anybody to have them take me away because they were right here. Oh, we're having fun now. All right, so they come clear. I'm taking one of our Stampin' Blends, which is an alcohol marker. I'm using the thick end, and all I did was you kind of float your tip over it until it colors it. If you let it dry, sometimes you can get a little bit darker. As you can see, this one's a hair darker than that one. I colored it more. But it's a great way. This is a great basic gem that you can get because, as you can see, I color them. So I have lots, and then I always leave at least a whole page of them being blank. Anyway, so this is making our second card. Now let me just quickly show you. Here's our thank you. I'll put them on top. Let me show you the other cards I made. Maybe. Yep, here they are. So when I first made this card, I used ribbon, which is fine if you're giving it to somebody, not so fine if you're sending it through the mail. If you are going to send it through the mail, cut a piece of cardstock the same size and put it on top. There's less chance of it getting caught in the machine. I wanted to use all 5 of the stamp sets, or stamps that are in the You Are Loved. Here it is. And I came up with 4, and I hadn't used You Are Loved. So I just popped it on the inside of here so I could prove to you that I used them all. But you can see some of the letters are not dyed completely, and it's intentional. That's the way they're made. Then this was the original thank you I made. I used 3 gems there, still very nice. Again, if you're going to send it through a mail, I would put a separate piece of paper. Then I used Thinking of You, which is 1 dot. And then I did Celebrate, and I used a smaller die in the same die set as this one, and then just backed it. I also used one of the cutout dies. It basically just cuts out a piece, and then of course I had to put some kind of color. I could have used the darker color. I could have used a contrasting color. I chose to use white so it would stand out a little bit and kind of coordinate with that. So those are the cards I came up with using my Memories and More. And again, the envelopes are just too much fun. Anybody would love to get this in the mail, and they are quick and easy. Thanks so much for joining my video today. Consider subscribing and click the notification. I only post once a week unless there's a flash sale like free shipping. Other than that, I am not going to bombard you with a whole bunch of other stuff. So thank you for joining me again. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.